So guys, now we'll see NLB, network load balancing. Let us try to understand what is the use of this NLB. So imagine guys, you have one web server and it is web server and its IP address is 10.0.0.1 and there is one client, there is one user who wants to access this web server. So what he will do, let us say it is ms.com. He will open the browser and he will type ms.com. So the request will directly not go to this ms.com, the request will go to the DNS server to check what is the IP address of this web server. So this DNS server is having the information of ms.com with IP address 10.0.0.1. So DNS server will send the response. It will send that. It will send this IP address and it will say the client that the IP address of this ms.com is 10.0.0.1. Then this user will access this ms.com. Okay. Let us say guys, there is a huge traffic and the performance of the server will go down or this server goes down. What will happen? Clients won't be able to access this server. So what you will do, you will install one more web server for load balancing. And the IP address of this web server is 10.0.0.2. Again, it is ms.com. Okay, it is for the load balancing. So user one wants to access this ms.com, the request will go to DNS server. DNS server will provide the IP address as 10.0.0.1 and it is having one more IP address, now 10.0.0.2. And user 2 also wants to access ms.com. So the request will go to the DNS server. So now DNS server will provide the other IP address 10.0.0.2 to user 2 and user 2 will access this server. So the load is balanced here. Okay, it is distributed between these two servers. So we have one more user 3 and again he wants to access the ms.com. The request will go to the DNS server. DNS server now it will provide the first IP address. Okay, because second IP address is provided to user 2. So user 3 will get 10.0.0.1 and user 4 will get 10.0.0.2. User 5 will get 10.0.0.1. User 6 will get 10.0.0.2. So it is called as round robin method. Okay, first come, first serve like this. Now guys, let us say this server 1 goes down and user 1 is using 10.0.0.1. User 3 is also using 10.0.0.1. User 4 is also using 10.0.0.1 and these users won't be able to access this 10.0.0.1 because it is down. And the user 2, user 4 and user 5, they are using 10.0.0.2. They can access the website. So this DNS server doesn't know which server is up, which server is down. He will get the request and it will provide the IP address. Let us say one more user has requested for ms.com. So it will provide the same IP address 10.0.0.1 to him. It will not check. It is not a smart device, you can say, this DNS server, and it will not check whether this server is up or down. Request is coming to it and it is providing the IP address. So how to solve this problem? What we will do, we will use the network load balancer. So let us try to understand what is this network load balancer. Here you will install one load balancer which is called as NLB, and you will provide the IP address to this network load balancer. Let us say the IP address is 10.0.0.100, and you will tell this DNS server that the IP address of this ms.com is 10.0.0.100. You will provide the NLB IP address to this ms.com. Okay, now what will happen? User one wants to access ms.com. The request will go to DNS server first. So this DNS server will provide 10.0.0.100. It will not provide 10.0.0.1 and 10.0.0.2. It will provide the NLB IP address. So this user one will try to access 10.0.0.100. The request will go to NLB. NLB will check which server is available. Okay, it will check 10.0.0.1 is available. Then it will give the access of this 10.0.0.1 to user one. Then user two wants to access the ms.com. Again, user two will get the NLB IP address 10.0.0.100, and it will go to NLB. NLB will see which server is busy, which server is free. So now 10.0.0.2 is free. So it will provide the access to 10.0.0.2. So the same way, it will provide the IP addresses. So user 3 wants to access the web server. So it will get 10.0.0.1 from NLB, not from DNS. Then user 4 will get 10.0.0.2. Let us say this server goes down and the user wants to access ms.com. So again, the request will go to DNS. DNS will provide the NLB IP address. The request will go to NLB, and NLB will check whether this server is available or not. If it is busy or available, if it is not available, it will provide the other IP address. So it sends heartbeat, or it sends, you can say, the ping, you can say, okay, heartbeat. They use this term called heartbeat every 5 seconds to check the availability of the server. If it is not available, it will provide the access to the other server. So this is the use of network load balancing. So guys, we have software network load balancer and hardware network load balancer. So you might have heard about the hardware network load balancer like F5, and Microsoft has provided the software load balancer as well. Okay, so we have hardware load balancer like F5 and software load balancer like NLB. So we are going to use NLB to load balance the traffic, and if any client goes down, users can still they access the web server from the other server. So now guys, let us create the NLB. So what we will do now, we'll create one cluster. Cluster, it is a group of servers, you can say. So we'll create the cluster and we'll add 10.0.0.1, 10.0.0.2 this cluster. And we'll assign the IP address as 10.0.0.100. Let us do this lab. For that, we need to install the service again. And before that, let us change the server names.
So this cluster means also this network load balancing. Is it same or is it different?
Yeah, in NLB, we create the cluster. Let me show you. You will get the idea. When we do the lab,
okay,
it will be clear to you. So this is web server 1, this is web server 2. So we need to install this NLB. on both the servers. You log on to web server 2 as well. Now guys, we'll check the connectivity. Ping 10.0.0.2. It is pinging, and we'll go to server manager. We'll go to add roles and features. We'll click next, next, next. Again, we need to go to features. Under these features, we'll go for the load balancing option. Okay, network load balancing, add features. Then we'll click next. We'll install. So the same feature should be installed on web server. Sorry, we need to go to add roles and features. We'll click next, next, next. Then we'll go to features. Next, then network load balancing. Then we'll click next. Then we'll click install. Meantime, let us verify the client as well. So NLB is installed on web server 1. So in web server 2, it is still installing. We'll go to client and we'll verify the IP address. Yesterday we have changed some IP addresses. Ten dot zero dot zero dot. Let us make it 20. 10.0.0.1. Let us ping the other servers. Okay, 10.0.0.1 and 2 they are pinging, and we are going to assign the IP address to NLB as 10.0.0.100. Okay, so it is not pinging because we have not assigned the IP address yet. Okay, so it is also installed. Now guys, what we will do, we'll go to tools and we'll search for the network load balancer. Okay, network load balancing manager. And if you see there is no cluster created, we need to create the cluster. We'll right click and we'll create the new cluster, and you need to provide the server name or IP address. Okay, so server name like server dash 01 or IP address like 10.0.0.1. This is the IP address of server 1, and we'll select this option connect. We'll click it. It is selected. We'll click next. We'll click next, and it is asking for the cluster IP address. So we have decided to configure the cluster IP address as 10.0.0.100. So guys, this IP address, if your web server is installed over the internet, so this will be the public IP address. Okay, and some companies, they have the web servers for their users in LAN. So if it is in LAN only, it is not accessed from outside. So you should provide the private IP address. Okay, so we'll provide the private IP address and subnet mask. Then we'll click OK. Then we'll click next, next, finish. So here adding the first server. It is showing status is pending. So after it is added successfully, you will get converged. Okay, it is converged. Now we need to add 10.0.0.2 in the cluster. This is a cluster, guys. We need to add one more server. Right click, add host to cluster. If you see the IP address of the cluster, 10.0.0.100. Then 10.0.0.2, and we'll connect it. Okay, we'll add this Ethernet 0, which is our LAN. We'll click next, and next, finish. So it is pending. After it is added successfully, you will get converged option. Now guys, it is successfully added. Now what we will do, we'll ping, we'll verify. Okay, we'll ping 10.0.0.100. We'll not ping 10.1 and 10.0.0.1 or 10.0.0.2. We'll ping 10.0.0.100, the cluster, the NLB. Now you can see it is pinging. So you can shut down any computer. Still this computer will be able to access it. Okay guys, so this is about NLB.